What is Reiki? Well, that's for me to know and for you to find out. Actually, it's for me to find out as well. We're going to talk with Diane Sweet about that momentarily. Also, this being Thursday, State Representative Dan Kelly joining us for an inside look at the Iowa State House. And of course, Nikisha Phillips continues her conversation about her journey through pregnancy.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Ed Fallon here, folks. Gateway Market and Cafe is your locally owned source for specialty groceries. Enjoy chef-crafted, prepared foods, artisan baked goods, organic produce, specialty cheeses, and hand-selected wines and craft beer. Visit the lively cafe for breakfast, lunch, or dinner 7 days a week. Gateway Market is centrally located on the corner of Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway and Woodland Ave. Stop by or visit www.gatewaymarket.com for more details. That's Gateway Market, folks. Good food, great community.
This moment of silence brought to you by Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering, home of Des Moines' premier rooftop dining experience. Located in the heart of Beaverdale, Tally's offers speedy and affordable rooftop lunch, catering for events both large and small, innovative cuisine, as well as vegetarian and gluten-free menus. Come to Tally's for live music, dry-aged steaks, Sunday brunch, and all-you-can-eat ribs every Monday night. Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering at 2712 Beaver Avenue. Call 279-2067. That's 279-2067.
On March 28th, Equal Justice After Hours is Iowa Legal Aid's annual fundraiser that helps provide access to justice for low-income Iowans. The event includes a reception and program at the Temple for the Performing Arts in Des Moines. It also includes remarks by Georgetown University law professor Peter Edelman and the induction of Robert Oberbelly into the Iowa Legal Aid Hall of Fame. Tickets start at $50 and sponsorship opportunities are available. Contact Terry Bennett at tbennett@iowalaw.org. That's tbennett@iowalaw.org.
I'm a burrito.
I'm a fighting burrito, full of fresh ingredients prepared before your very eyes.
I don't have eyes.
I have over 28 options and 268 million combinations, including Rizo for vegetarians.
I can take my meat off and call myself vegetarian.
Put that back on. The Fighting Burrito is locally owned.
I'm owned by some big corporation somewhere. Say, you want to go on a date?
No thanks. I'm seeing a quesadilla.
The Fighting Burrito online, fightingburrito.com. Join the fight.
Hello, Mid-American Energy.
I'm very concerned that you want to bill me an extra $5,000 to build a nuclear reactor. Do you know we're in the middle of a recession?
Oh, we were hoping you wouldn't hear about that until after the legislature had taken action.
Why not let your shareholders pick up the tab?
Oh, way too risky for our shareholders. We need you, our loyal customers, to pay for it.
Wait, let me see if I understand this. Mid-American wants to build a nuclear power plant in 10 or 20 years, and they want me to pay for it now?
That's right.
Well, I'll just take my business elsewhere.
Sorry, we're a monopoly. What we say goes.
I've heard nuclear power is more expensive than other sources.
Yes it is.
And I've heard there's no plan for how to dispose of nuclear waste.
We're looking at shooting it into the sun.
Well, I'm not going to sit back and let you make bad decisions with my money.
We're betting you will.
Stop Mid-American's power grab. Call your legislators today. 281-3371. 281-3371.
Paid for by Physicians for Social Responsibility.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
People of Des Moines, welcome to the Fallon Forum. I hope you're having a great day, as am I. Thank you, Brother Trucker, for the bumper music kicking this program off. Thank you to the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club, also the Iowa chapter of Physicians for Social Responsibility. Proud, I presume proud, sponsors of this program, and I want to thank Gateway Market for sponsoring this segment of our show. Later in the program, State Representative Dan Kelly is going to join us. We just can't seem to get rid of that guy. He just keeps coming back for more. And also Nikisha Phillips, who is in the, fifth, maybe sixth, maybe sixth, I think, month of pregnancy, and doing work with a doula and a midwife. It's been a very interesting conversation on a number of levels. She'll be joining us later today. I do want to talk, I also want to talk later today about this, the state selling land in Tama County that it used to be the site of a business that got big taxpayer incentives. And now it's being sold to a group of investors that includes Bruce Rastetter. I mean, This guy is like the Prince of Darkness. I'm sorry. I don't know. We're going to talk more about that because that's just the tip of the iceberg. I also want to talk a little bit more about the Orascom scam, which just every time you turn around there, it seems like there's something new to gripe about. And I also will remind people that tomorrow is my birthday, and Charles Goldman will be filling in for me. Charles and his brother Stephen Goldman talking about a drone-related issue, and we're also going to, of course, hear from Heather Ryan tomorrow with Ryan's Rants. I'm going to be taking the day off, but in the evening I've got a birthday party planned, and you're welcome to come to that. Yes, even you, Frank. That is going to be tomorrow night at Raccoon River Brew Pub at 5 p.m., and at 6:30 p.m., I will be making a campaign announcement. So stay tuned for that. Let's kick off our conversation talking about something that I know nothing about. Again, if you're a talk show host, that never stops you, right? Fortunately, though, I have somebody in the studio who knows a lot about Reiki. Diane, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Diane Sweet, folks, is a longtime practitioner of Reiki.
Over 20 years.
20 years, has some events coming up. But let's start with this. Again, I'm going to assume that some people listening, like me, don't know a lot about Reiki, if anything. So give us a little overview of what is Reiki.
Reiki is universal healing energy. Rei, part of ki, means universal or great power, and ki means energy.
In which language?
In Japanese.
Ah, okay. So it's from Japan originally.
Originally, it emanates from Tibetan Buddhism, the medicine Buddha tradition, but the current Reiki that's used currently, the modern Reiki, emanates from a Japanese professor called Dr. Usui.
Okay.
Who went in search, he was asked the question by one of his students, how do the great masters heal, such as Buddha or Krishna or Jesus? Right. And he went in search of the method of how they healed, and what he came back with was the tradition that we now call Reiki. Okay,
and again, to a Christian's way of thinking, the laying on of hands by Jesus meant instant healing.
Mm-hmm.
The apostles, they weren't quite so good at it, but there are cases where they were able to do that as well.
Right.
So I assume, though, that the modern practice isn't quite so instantaneous as our impression of what happened 2,000 years ago in Palestine.
It can instantaneously stop bleeding.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. So there's actual instances of that happening?
Yes. Yes. I've had that happen with myself and with other people.
Really?
Yes. I've had, personally, I had a broken ankle, which the doctor wanted to pin and basically told me I would be on crutches for a couple years with the ligaments and et cetera, and damage. And I was walking without crutches, without a cane 2 months later.
Folks, if you would like to join the conversation either with a comment, a question, or even a point of criticism, we always accept criticism here on the Fallon Forum. Constructive criticism, Frank. The number is 244-0077, or toll free, it's 855-244-0077. And you can always email me as well, at fallonforum@gmail.com. So before we continue, Diane, I want you've got an event coming up. Let folks know about that.
Okay, we will have an actual Reiki training weekend, the 15th through the 17th of March.
And anybody's welcome, even if you've never got any experience.
Right.
Okay.
Right. There is cost for that weekend, but we have 2 free talks coming.
Okay.
On March 5th at the Urbandale Public Library from 8 to 9, and on Monday, March 11th at the West Des Moines Library at 7 p.m. So they can come and ask questions about Reiki, or I teach Ageless Wisdom classes as well, and so they can ask questions.
Ageless Wisdom?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That Ageless Wisdom is where all the truths meet of all our isms, such as all our religions, our philosophies, our ways of looking at life and ways of living life, and Ageless Wisdom deals with the truths within all of those.
Okay. And there are those, of course, who feel that it's their way or the highway. So I'm glad to hear that someone is out there putting out the message that, there are some universal truths that we can all agree on.
And all paths lead home.
Well, yes, hopefully, or lost in the wilderness for 40 years.
That too.
So, so you've got the introductory, is it a lecture perhaps, a presentation?
Question
on March 5th at the Urbandale Library at 5 p.m. And then
at 8 to 9.
Oh, sorry, 8 to 9 p.m.
Right.
Okay, sorry, and then the on the 11th at the West Des Moines Library.
Right, at 7 p.m.
7 p.m. Okay, and then of course the training itself, which does cost how much?
$150 for the full weekend.
Okay, it's a full weekend of training. Okay, so again, the concept is that you lay your hands on people and you heal. I mean, you mentioned a broken ankle. You mentioned bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
What else submits itself to the healing power of this practice?
Reiki works with all levels of healing, all levels of disease, from the emotional, the mental, the physical, and the spiritual aspects. And so all those levels can be assisted to healing with Reiki.
Okay. So it almost seems like part of the training, maybe the biggest part of the training, is just personal spiritual development. You get to the point where you've got it all figured out inside, and you can kind of transmit that to somebody who might be hurting on the outside or inside, for that matter.
Reiki's interesting because it moves through you, not from you.
Ah, okay. So you could be a total schmuck and still do this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And it works with all religious faiths. It works with all spiritual beliefs. It's basically non-denominational.
Okay. But what makes you capable of being the transmitter for this energy? I mean, I suppose you could have so many issues of your own that force wouldn't be able to move through you to the patient.
Yes and no. Traditionally, Reiki will move through all of those things, and there's no reason why someone cannot connect to Reiki energy without a Reiki training class. But what happens during the class is there's what we call 4 attunements, in which the Reiki channel's kind of opened up and moves through your energy field and moves through your body, and the things that don't resonate with it are kind of removed by you.
Okay.
Not by the person doing the attunements, but by the individual receiving it. And at that point, then the Reiki's kind of permanentized and is an open channel for you to use for the rest of your life.
Okay. So say I've got say my back is killing me because I shoveled too much snow. My producer my producer Maddie should probably be listening, because I think she shoveled snow all night long the other day. But anyway, say you're really sore. And you or some other practitioner would apply Reiki. How long of a session is this? A quick thing? Does it take a long time? What would we want to expect to experience?
What you would expect to experience, anybody who's using it, with hot hands, and they don't have to be laid on the body. They can be above the body, 1 or 2 inches, and still receive the Reiki. And
so you're saying with hot hands?
Your hands actually get hot because that's where the Reiki emanates from when you are. Yep.
So normal body temperature doesn't.
It's kind of like having a heating pad.
Really?
Placed on you.
And what causes that?
That's the Reiki attunement, the Reiki flowing through you.
The energy flowing through you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's kind of like you've tapped into a celestial burner that's...
Reiki is universal healing energy direct from God.
And that heat is part of the healing process?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Or relaxation or stress relief. It can be used for any of those things.
So pretend I'm from Missouri and I have a license plate on my bike that says "Show me," and I want proof. I want to know that this is not just some hokey thing, some snake oil salesman going around here trying to convince me that this is real. I want to know. I want to see the proof.
Okay.
What's that? What can you tell me to ease my Missouri mind?
Well, there's no way to see it, but there is a way to feel it. And what people feel when Reiki practitioners basically say Reiki on, and then the energy starts flowing in the hand.
Well, they actually say that.
Yep.
At the start of the session.
And the palms of your hands get really, really hot.
Huh. Do they ever get too hot to bear?
No.
Okay.
No. There's 3 different levels of Reiki. There's Reiki 1, Reiki 2, Reiki 3, and then Mastership. Mastership is where you learn to attune other people. Okay,
and that's interesting to me. But again, still looking for the you mentioned your ankle got healed.
Yep.
Tell me more about that.
It was broken in a jagged break, and basically the surgeon told me that I would be walking on crutches for 2 years and would never...
2 years?
Never ski, never do taekwondo again, never
What'd you
ride
do?
my bike. I
You
said,
didn't kick somebody, did you?
No, I walked in front of my car, cleaning out the snow off, and fell.
Oh, another snow-related accident. Okay, wow.
And so I said to him, basically, is there something else that we can do? Do we have to do the surgery? And
Right.
he basically told me that we could try and set it, but he didn't think it would grow back together again and heal without the pinning.
And what kind of doctor was this?
Was an orthopedic surgeon.
Orthopedic surgeon. So.
And I said, well, is there anything else we can do? And he said, well, we can try to set it. And so then I went home and did everything he told me to do, stayed off of it, followed all of his advice.
For how long?
For 2 weeks. And I went back every week. And on the third week, he said, and he told me initially, well, we could always re-break it.
Oh, lovely.
And
hey, this really hurts. Can you screw it up again? Maybe that works. I can't imagine that would be a good idea. But
and at 2 weeks, then I went back and he said, well, this might work. And so 3 weeks I went back and says this is probably going to work. And I broke it on Valentine's Day, February 14th. And I was walking without crutches, without cast, without cane on April 5th.
okay. And when did the
Completely
Reiki come in? When did you start that?
Immediate, as soon as it was set, because things start healing right away. So as soon as I had seen a surgeon and it was set, then I started using the Reiki.
Okay. So the orthopedic surgeon was helpful in terms of setting the bones, but
and giving me advice and looking at the X-ray and all those.
But some of that advice was the advice you didn't take to heart. You didn't want it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what was, I'm curious about his comment, his take on the role of Reiki.
I didn't talk to him about it.
Oh, you didn't tell him?
Because he didn't appear that he would be willing to hear that. And this has been almost 20 years ago. And Reiki was not well known at that time, like it is now.
Interesting. Okay. Wow.
So, Reiki works with everything. You should always see your doctor.
Right.
And you should always get a diagnosis, and you should always, listen to what the doctor has to say. But we in the West here don't always, we believe that we have to listen to everything they have to say, but we have our own will.
Well, I'm curious, did you go back to your surgeon?
Absolutely.
And did you say, hey, looky what I did?
No, I did not.
Okay, so you never, even at some point later on, you never.
No.
And was he surprised that it healed up?
Yes, he was shocked.
Shocked. Okay.
He was shocked.
All right.
But his explanation basically was, well, that happens sometimes.
Okay. Well, yeah. If you ever do go back and talk with him, I'd be curious what his take might be.
I haven't seen him in 20 years.
Oh, it's been that long ago.
Yeah.
Okay, sure, yeah. So, just another example. I mean, that's okay. That is fascinating and compelling. But give folks another example as to, again, a concrete instance where Reiki has been, clearly been the cause for healing.
Everyone after their Reiki training, their Reiki 1 training, has what they call a Reiki incident that proves to them that Reiki's really working. Because like you just said, most people don't think, comes through my hands, I want proof.
Right.
Before I took my Reiki 1 training in 1992, I was working in an office, and I had a paper cut that really needed stitches, but you can't put paper cut on the edge of your stitches.
That was a mean piece of paper.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And it bled, and it took, I used all kinds of stuff to try to heal it, and it took about a month for it to heal. So I did my Reiki training, and the first day back in the office after my Reiki training, I got another paper cut in almost the same spot. And
you've got to get a different job.
I do now.
Good.
Anyway, I thought, my first thought was, oh no, I've got to go through this for another month. And then I thought, wait a minute, I just took this Reiki training. Why don't I just try it? And so I said Reiki on and put my hand.
So you tried it on yourself?
Yep.
Okay, you didn't need someone else to do it?
Nope.
Okay.
Reiki on and put it over my finger. And a couple, 5, 10, not minutes, but seconds later, I looked and the bleeding had stopped. And periodically through the day, I Reiki'd it. And at the end of the day, you could not see where the paper cut was.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
That's right.
Impressive. Well, this is
Everyone
fascinating
has
stuff.
a Reiki story.
All right, except me, but I need to get one.
Yes, you do.
All right, well, I'll go hurt myself. No. Well, it'll probably happen at some point. No, I suppose you don't even need to be injured to benefit from it.
No, you don't.
There's always something going on
Right.
inside. So,
Right. It
all right.
helps balance your energy, and it provides stress relief. The first three positions of the self-treatment are the hands over the face, on the top of the head, and at the neck.
Mm-hmm.
And we call that 1, 2, 3 sleep. We call that
1, 2, 3 sleep.
Yeah, like we call that the.
That means you fall asleep in 3 seconds?
Yep. Yeah, 1, 2, 3 sleep.
I could use help with that. Now, with a chicken, we just tuck their head under a wing. I don't have wings, so I might have to rely on that. That's interesting. All right. Well, this is fascinating stuff, folks. Reiki and Reiki practitioner Diane Sweet. She'll be giving lectures this coming Monday, March 5th. That will be at the Urbandale Library from 8 to 9 p.m. It's free and open to the public. And then on March 11th, at the West Des Moines Public Library at 7 p.m., a similar lecture. And then if you are so inclined, and it sounds like it might be a very good investment of your time and $150, there is a weekend-long training, March 17th and 18th. So when you can break away from the St. Patrick's Day Parade, if you can do that, and that's going to be where in Des Moines?
That will be at a private residence.
Okay.
Unless we have a lot of students.
Okay.
There's, I don't like to teach more than 15 at a class.
Right. And if people want information about that, or if they want to register, what's the contact information?
They can contact Dustin Oliverson at 333-7891, or they can email us at teachingtheagelesswisdoms@gmail.com.
Okay, let me run that by folks again. If you send me that information, I'll get it on my website. But folks, Dustin can be reached at 333-7891. 7891.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. And the email address again?
teachingtheagelesswisdoms@gmail.com.
Teachingtheagelesswisdoms. That's a long one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Diane Sweet, folks, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
you. And
you.
thank you, Gateway Market, for sponsoring this segment of our show. I had supper at Gateway Market last night. I had a meeting with Heather Ryan, and we ran into Charlotte and Fred Hubble. They invited us to join, and we had quite a engaging political and issue-oriented conversation, and a great dinner. I had salmon. What is it called? Asparagus. I knew it was green. And potatoes. And again, it's a great meal, affordable price. You can get breakfast and lunch there as well. And more important, it is our neighborhood grocery store, and not just for the Sherman Hill neighborhood, but for the entire central city. You can get anything you want there grocery-wise. A lot of that comes from local farms. I went home with a bottle of picket fence milk. Check them out, folks. Gateway Market at 20th and Woodland. Thank them for supporting the alternative to right-wing radio, and thank them for being a great, a great opportunity for keeping our dollars here in the local community. State Representative Dan Kelly going to be with us next. We're talking politics. Who knew? We'll be back in a few minutes.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
The dawn
of a new era begins.
Well, good morning. This is the 7th of June in the Lord's year 2010, and this is day one of webcast1live.com. We will begin with Max World Live with my special guest, Tom Coates. In just a minute, there's Tom. Wait. Howdy. And we will be live for the very first time on Webcast One Live. Someday we're going to look back on this and say, gosh, remember that old day in history? Wonder where Walter Cronkite was. He must have been around hanging there too. But actually, it's the beginning of Webcast One Live. And thank you for listening. Thanks, Rob Spearman, and everybody who's put together this project together. And we're ready to go live now. So thanks for listening to MaxWorldLive.com.
I can't tell you that it's going real well from time to time, but it is going, man.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Ah, yes, a fresh cup of water. Anyway, Raccoon River's finest. Who knows what the heck's in there, huh? Who knows? My gosh. I don't want to know. Hey, that was Babers Neighbors, folks. My favorite local bluegrass band bringing us back to our conversation. Later in the show, Nikisha Phillips is going to join us, but we've got Dan Kelly in the studio. Be warned, there is a Dan Kelly in the studio here. Dan, welcome.
Yes, well, thank you, Ed. It's always a pleasure to come over from the Capitol over the lunch hour and visit with you and your listeners, and it's something I look forward to every week.
And speaking of the Capitol, what the heck is going on there today?
Well, lots of activity, lots of folks in the Capitol. You know, we had this blizzard earlier in the week. I'm sure you may recall the blizzard.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we had the blizzard that was a little later than anticipated, I think.
And about 5 times as much snow as anticipated.
Yeah. Well, Tuesday, it took me 2 hours to drive the normal half-hour trip from Newton to the Capitol.
You need a new car.
Well, it wasn't the car; it was the weather. But I anticipated we wouldn't have very many visitors at all on Tuesday.
Yeah.
The Capitol was packed.
Really?
It was packed. There, every
How do you explain
group.
that?
I can't. I've been trying to figure it out. I can't explain it. There were several different groups that had planned to be there, and they were there. So that's just kind of a word to folks who have maybe lived close to the Capitol or live in Des Moines and have never actually come up to visit the Capitol and call their legislators out. Some very brave, good drivers made the trip on Tuesday, they all came and visited with us. So, real strong statement for grassroots Iowa.
Well, it is the people's house, and it's a good idea to make your presence known, because certainly the lobbyists are up there making their presence known all the time.
There are many different ways you can communicate with legislators. I get lots of phone calls, lots and lots and lots of emails, but nothing works better than face-to-face interaction.
All right. Good. Hey, so issue-wise, what's going on this week?
Well, we had some fairly non-controversial bills we voted on yesterday and this morning. We are this session has taken a different tone than the previous two that I'd been involved in.
Better, worse?
I'd say much better, quite honestly.
Why?
Well,
I mean, it's good news, but why?
Well, it seemed like there was quite a bit of polarization and lots of very important topics to lots of folks. Same-sex marriage. The Republicans tried to end collective bargaining rights in the House for public workers. 2 years ago.
Right.
And, my first session, I was told it was trial by fire, and I understand that now because we're off to a bit smoother start. Not that there's not some disagreement and big topics out there that we need to pound out and put together. Hopefully we can get a budget set before July 3rd
hopefully,
hopefully we can wrap that up earlier this year than we did last year.
Before the new fiscal year actually starts.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I have never participated in a session that actually ended on time, and I don't think it's me, Ed. I think there's other things going on there.
I haven't heard anybody blame you.
No, I have not.
Let me be the first.
No, I've not not gotten any blame at that point. So.
And you and I sometimes have a chance to say, "Hey, Dan, what would you like to talk about today?" And we didn't do that.
No, we didn't.
So let me ask you, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Internet gaming.
Yeah.
It seems like 3 or 4 Iowans polled recently. 75% of Iowans oppose internet gaming. I was surprised it was that high.
Well, I'm pleasantly surprised that it's that high.
Yeah, because I know you're not a gambling fan.
No, I'm not. I think we've got we're far too dependent on gambling addicts and gambling addicts' families, and too many ways to throw your money away in the state of Iowa.
So what is the status of legislation to allow internet gambling?
Well, I believe it's going through the Senate, and I have not followed this real closely, but I believe it did pass through a subcommittee. I could be wrong. I could be wrong on that, but I believe it has, it has jumped over some hurdles.
Any sense of where House members stand on this? And again, this is gambling is never a partisan issue. It's always a very strange, eclectic, set of bedfellows from both sides of the aisle on both sides of the issue.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, Ed. I've not heard much discussion about it. I don't know if that's
with gambling, though, you never know.
No, but it's pretty clear where I'm at. Maybe people just don't talk to me about it. I don't know.
Folks probably don't remember this, but I think it was 1987 or 8. I think it was 1987. The gambling interest snuck the legislation that allowed Prairie Meadows to exist into a bill the very last minute of session, closing hours, middle of the night, nobody paying attention, everybody exhausted. The language that enabled Prairie Meadows to exist was slipped in at the last second.
Yeah.
So, you always got to keep your eyes open on gambling issues, because the folks who, somebody is making a ton of money on gambling. Right. At least with the case of Prairie Meadows, here I am defending Prairie Meadows, at least it's locally owned by the taxpayers in Polk County.
Sure.
Most of this stuff is now owned by some big corporation in Las Vegas or somewhere else.
Well, just last week, I was able to discuss some issues related to the lottery with Terry Rich in the Administration and Regulations Budget Subcommittee, on which I serve as ranking member. And I made a few suggestions as to how the lottery could take a closer look at how it deals with gambling addiction and how they can, prevent folks from heading down that troubled path.
Right.
The lottery, you can pretty much drive a half an hour anywhere in the state of Iowa, any direction, and you're going to run into a casino.
Right.
So we've got too many casinos. But let's put the lottery in perspective. Every Casey's store, Come and Go, and every gas station in the state is an outlet for the lottery.
Yeah.
And many people. Mr. Rich pointed out that only 18 calls to the 1-800-BETS-OFF line in the past year had cited the lottery. Well, the way I look at that is, yes, that's a statistic, that's a low number, but that's also 18 Iowans, 18 families whose really their livelihoods and their lives are on the line there as to how the lottery deals with gambling addiction.
And how many didn't call?
I think. Well, that's true. And also, the lottery does serve as an entry point. That's a first step in gambling for a lot of people because it's every Casey's store, every Come and Go, every gas station in the state. And I know I've waited to pay for my gas for longer than I need to because somebody's standing at the counter scratching their tickets and treating it like it's the payout counter at a casino. Yeah. And a couple suggestions I made, and I'll to be fair, Mr. Rich did listen to these suggestions and said he'd take them into consideration. I would like to see the Iowa Lottery take all of their advertising off the air during Problem Gambling Awareness Week. I'd like to see them take their advertising off the air during that week in March and use their leverage and some of their advertising dollars to get more ads on the air during that week, drawing attention to problem gambling.
I would be shocked if that would happen. I mean, the state is addicted to gambling revenue. How much income does the state get, not just from the lottery, but from taxes on casinos? It's got to be what, 400 or 500 million?
Well, it's
maybe more than that.
It's huge. It's a huge number. And he did listen to these suggestions, and I appreciate that. But I hope to get back on. Well, I will be on that committee next year, and I let him know that I'd ask what progress has been made.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think you're handling it diplomatically, and it's an issue that
I do my best, but I'm very passionate about this subject.
Well, let's switch gears. Party line voting. Folks know that you can. Some know that you can go when you go to vote. You can vote straight ticket, straight Democratic, straight Republican. I've always been against that option. I think it makes for lazy voters.
Well,
but I know that I was surprised to read how partisan that debate has become at the State House, with Republicans wanting to do away with straight ticket voting. And it seems like Democrats are pretty much in favor of keeping it. Where do you stand, Dan?
I support it. I think that that's an option we need to keep.
But doesn't it make people lazy? I mean, instead of looking down the ballot and checking out every race, you just check one box and you're done.
Well, I don't know that lazy is maybe the right word for it. It provides some certainty that your values are going to be reflected by at least most of the candidates that you're voting for. I mean, I don't have a problem with straight party ticket voting. I do it often myself, and
Democrat or Republican?
If I have to go, good question there, Ed. I think it's pretty clear Democrat, but lazy in the fact that you're just filling out one little circle, or you have to go through the whole card. If I had to go through the whole card, I'd do the same thing. So
I've never voted straight ticket myself, just because I think it's a good discipline to go through and see exactly who's on the ballot and make the choice accordingly. And there are often Democrats that I don't feel I can vote for in good conscience, to be frank. But I mean, that's a different issue.
Sure.
But
I do go through and I do my due diligence and study each of the topics, but in each of the people on the ballot on all levels. And no, I've not always voted straight ticket, but generally that's what I do.
So again, with the House Republican and the Senate Democrat, and this being now a partisan issue, it looks unlikely to go anywhere.
It's unfortunate that it's become a partisan issue.
Yeah, I'm surprised actually. I don't remember it being a partisan issue years ago. Maybe I'm not remembering that correctly. But again, I think part of Charles Goldman makes the argument that getting rid of straight ticket voting would be helpful for third party types, for people interested in broadening the system to allow more than just two parties to be dominant.
Well, can I reverse the table a little bit and ask a question of you, Ed?
Yeah.
If straight party voting were to disappear, and the thought behind it is that it makes, which I don't agree with, but your argument that it makes voters lazy, do you think that taking away the ability to vote straight ticket would make those who don't do the research do it anymore? I mean, would they be motivated to do this just because that option's gone?
Well,
I'm not sure.
It would force them. Maybe they wouldn't be forced to do. Maybe they wouldn't do research, but it would force them to look at the ballot more.
When
carefully.
I say research, I'm using a very vague term there.
Yeah, I mean, but they
pay
wouldn't,
attention.
They wouldn't just mindlessly check Republican or Democrat. They would have to go into the down the list and at least learn who the other candidates are.
I think some, unfortunately, would simply vote for the office that they're interested in, and then just kind of fill out the ovals and for some of those. And I don't think there's anything good that can come of that. I think you want to vote for candidates that you may not agree with them 100% on everything. I don't think that's going to happen very often, but you want the people you're voting for to reflect the values that you hold. And I think straight party voting allows for that.
All right. Well, and this again, it's not that big of an issue in the big scheme of things, and it's probably not going to go that far anyhow.
Yeah, we got budget targets this week, and that seems to be the big topic right now.
Now, beyond Iowa's budget targets, what about the federal government's budget targets? Because tomorrow I celebrate my birthday.
I know you do.
Also Sequester Day. I have an announcement as well.
It's a big announcement, Ed. And I've got to say this. I have been asked so many times at the Capitol. 2 questions. One of 2 questions. Either what's Ed running for or what's Ed up to? And my answer is, I don't know, followed by, if I did, I couldn't do anything about it.
The man is out of control.
But I will be there, Ed, and I look forward to
All right. Well, we have
look forward to helping you with whatever you're going to announce.
Well, Sid Cohn is going to be providing the birthday cake, so that in itself will be reason to come.
I can't wait.
But again, we may also be on the cusp of the sequestration that everybody fears. Actually, it seems like a lot less people are bent out of shape about this than were about the previous 2 fiscal cliff attempts. And I think part of it is you can only cry wolf so many times before people say, okay, forget it, I'm not going to pay attention. And I think that's kind of what's happening here. The situation really hasn't changed in terms of the potential impact, but people's patience with the drama, I think, has worn thin.
Well, I agree with that. Sequestration, it's a very serious issue here. We got to pay attention. We got to know what's going on. We got to keep things rolling. But the last week, remember, we talked about each storm that comes in has a name, like it's a movie, like it's being promoted as this big event. We had the election, and then we had the fiscal cliff. And what is the 3rd chapter of this crisis story?
Why don't we just call it fiscal cliff again?
Right. It's like everything is being packaged and promoted as though it's another crisis. And I think we got to step away from that. We got to start using our heads, and we've got to pay attention to the issues at hand and let some of the drama go. Yeah. So but I think we're in agreement on that, but maybe take it a little different
So what happens if no agreement is reached by Friday?
Some people are going to suffer quite a bit.
Not immediately.
Or
maybe immediately.
Yeah. I mean, those who are, dependent for medications and so forth and this sort of thing, I mean, they have immediate concerns.
Well, one thing the state of Iowa has going for it that the federal government doesn't is the state is not allowed to pass a budget that does not balance.
Right.
That is a practice that the federal government can use, and that's a practice that both parties back in 1992, just before I got in, agreed to put together, an approach that I think has worked really well for over 2 decades now.
Right.
I wish the federal government would do that.
Well, I think that keeping the state budget balanced and meeting the needs of Iowans, that should be the priority of everybody working at the Capitol.
A couple more quick questions, Dan, and then we got to run on to our next segment. But Tom Latham made big news yesterday by saying he's not going to do something. Isn't that cool when you can make news by saying you're not going to do something? And the other piece to come out of that news is King, pounding his drums a little bit louder, suggesting he might be doing something. What's your take on that?
Well, I also heard that the lieutenant governor is considering
running for U.S. Senate?
Yeah, that was out
just
a couple hours ago. So, yeah.
So
I don't know, Ed.
I thought she was being groomed for governor.
Yeah, you've got a big announcement tomorrow, Ed.
Okay, but yeah. Well, it's all dependent on what Steve King does for me. No. Personally, I'll say this, Steve. If you run for Congress, if you run for the U.S. Senate, I'm contributing $25 to your campaign. Because I think you're going to lose so bad, and I'm going to be very happy when you move on from politics to doing something different. That's my take.
So your take is to contribute
to help encourage him. Come on, go run for the U.S. Senate. That gets him out of the Iowa. It gets him out of the U.S. House. He'll never win that race.
What if that $25 buys the pack of yard signs that puts him over the top? I don't know, Ed.
Okay, you got a good point. I shall reconsider. It's a good point.
I think you need to reconsider that one.
Yeah. I shall reconsider. Okay. Again, the last thing is a group of Republicans led by David Kochel this is a national initiative. They've signed their names to a legal brief that argues that same-sex couples have a constitutional right to marry. Mm-hmm. This is interesting to me and very contrary to what a lot of the core activists in the party believe. They're, again, very much against same-sex marriage and against a lot of things dealing with GLBT equality. What about that? Is that is that going to deepen the rift in the Republican Party? And again, no, I know that's not your party. You're a Democrat. But again, observing any conversation about this at the Capitol this week? Any observations about it?
Well, there was a resolution, I believe, introduced by a Republican member of the House to ban same-sex marriage. And looks like that terrible opinion is raising its head again in a formal way. And
but this is the Republican Party, some leaders going the opposite direction.
Well, Ed, we're going to have to let things fall as they fall. It's an important topic that everybody has got to keep an eye on. And the most important statistic, the most important fact about same-sex marriage is that now we are at the point where more people support than don't support.
See,
and that is the true story.
I think the reality is the Republican Party knows they cannot, political parties are coalitions.
Right.
And you cannot build an effective coalition on angry white conservative males.
Well,
that's not a constituency that is broad enough to build a party. And so they're beginning to reach out to Latinos through their cooperation on the immigration issue nationally, and to the gay and lesbian community through things like this.
Iowa has a long, strong tradition and history of fighting discrimination on many different levels. This is just the most recent chapter, and we should. Those of us who have fought for same-sex marriage should be very proud that we've got a victory.
And we've done
what's right.
Former Republican state senator Jeff Angelo has been a real leader on this issue.
He has. He has.
Anyway,
I've met him a couple times. Seems to really tell the message well from the perspective of a Republican supporter.
Dan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Ed.
I think we'll see you next week as well.
Yes, and I can't wait for the birthday. I've got a present for you. I know it said no presents.
No presents.
But I know it said no presents.
The bouncers will throw you out if you start doling out presents.
Well,
but would you please invite all my colleagues at the State House to join me as well?
I do every day.
All right.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you, Ed.
Folks, when we come back, Nakisha Phillips is going to join us. She's continuing to share her journey through pregnancy toward, I believe, a May delivery. She's working with a doula and a midwife. It's a fascinating conversation that we've had with her, and we'll continue that in a few minutes here on the Fallon Forum. I do want to thank Community CPA and Associates for sponsoring this segment of our show. I've got a big file here, folks, that I'm going to work on after the show. It is my 2012 tax return. I've got to get it done, and it will be done today. And if you have not got somebody lined up to do your taxes, consider giving Yingsa a shout. Community CPA has grown to be the 10th largest firm in the state for a reason. They're good. Give Ying a shout at 288-3188. That's 288-3188.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Community CPA is the 15th largest CPA firm in Iowa, providing audit, tax, and accounting services. Community CPA specializes in international tax treaty and double taxation avoidance among countries and states. 9 dedicated, experienced, hardworking staff are the company's foundation, and their compassion towards every client is the secret behind Community CPA's success. At Community CPA, you can expect quality service year-round. Call 288-3188. Community CPA, 3816 Ingersoll. Experience the difference.
This is Dr. Holding of the Story County Veterinary Clinic. For 15 years, we have been spaying and neutering feral cat groups at affordable prices. Wild cats destroy game birds and songbirds. A single female cat can produce over 4,000 kittens in 7 years. The shelters are full, so unwanted kittens will be put to sleep. Your cats will stay home and stay healthy. Call us for all your dog and cat needs at the Story County Veterinary Clinic between Ames and Nevada on Highway 30, 1 mile east of Interstate 35, 515-232-8766.
Since 1994, Sid's Catering has graced Des Moines area events with quality service and rave reviews. Owner Sid Cohn's culinary career began with a Northeast Iowa vacation home for international clientele. Sid earned a Bachelor of Science in Hotel Restaurant Management and was the assistant clubhouse manager at Des Moines Golf and Country Club. Sid has a passion for fresh, local products and offers a wide range of options, including vegan, gluten-free, and ethnic. Mention the Fallon Forum when you book your breakfast or lunch event and get 10% off. Contact Sid's Catering at 208-2091. That's Sid's Catering at 208-2091.
Local farms, global flavor. That's the secret to Hawk's growing popularity. The best meals begin with the best ingredients. and 90% of Hawk's ingredients come from local farms. In addition to seasonal fruits and vegetables, Hawk features grass-fed beef and lamb and pasture-raised chicken and duck, all raised without hormones, steroids, or cages. The coffee is fair trade, locally roasted, and Hawk's House liquors come from right here in Iowa. Hawk's owners go the extra mile, composting organic waste and recycling. For more information or to make reservations, visit hawktable.com. That's HOQ table.com.
It's time to think about upgrading the efficiency of your furnace and air conditioner. Leonard Tinker Heating and Cooling has provided honest, competent service for over 20 years. Whether it's your home or business, for repair work or to install a more energy-efficient furnace or air conditioner, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422. That's 263-0422. For honest, competent heating and cooling service, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422.
I love driving to Newton to see the races.
Me too, but I only have to drive across town.
You live in Newton?
Yep, Newton's got small town charm and it's close to Des Moines. I love the safe, friendly neighborhoods and family-owned businesses. And Newton's wind energy industry is really taking off.
How'd you find your home?
Dan Kelly with First Choice Realty. And Dan helped me find my office too.
Next time, instead of just speeding by, I'll stop in and check out Newton.
Why don't you check out Newton? Call Dan Kelly at 641-521-9260 or Dan Kelly at mchsi.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Best edition here, you know, because I would occasionally be elected or voted the best do-gooder. How cool is that? Best do-gooder. Come on. I'll take that over best talk show host. As long as it's not Steve Dace. Woo! Okay, good. All right, a couple things before we welcome Nikisha Phillips to the show here. Okay, I'm glad to see Democrats in the Iowa Senate taking Orscom and Governor Branstad to task, and the Iowa Economic Development Authority and Deb Durham over this massive handout to an Egyptian fertilizer company. Again, total of $251 million if you factor in state and local incentives. And again, they're rightfully questioning the wisdom of this, especially in light of the federal investigation about potential fraud. Matt McCoy says it this way, quote, out-and-out fraud ought to be one of the questions we ask during our due diligence process, because Deb Durham is claiming that, we just didn't even ask that question. Well, McCoy, you were right on the money that time. Okay, real quick. Also, the Iowa Economic Development Authority, they agreed last week to sell land for about $1.07 million to Iowa Premium Beef. Now, that's a group of investors that includes, drum roll, Bruce Rastetter, always in the news. Now, this is so cozy. This land was part of the security used to back state incentives that were provided to what was called Iowa Quality Beef at the time. That involved nearly $5 million in various loans, grants, that sort of thing. Now, that didn't last long. That place closed in 2004, putting about 450 Tama County workers out of work. So the state, this is the funny thing. The state actually received a bid from a local farmer for $1.1 million, higher than what that Bruce Rastetter's business group offered. They received a higher bid from a farmer and chose to accept Rastetter's group. This is all kinds of wrong, folks. I hope CCI's on that one. I hope other people are on that one. We're going to talk more about that as well. But we're going to shift gears from that to talking about all things pregnant. Nikisha Phillips is with us again. Nikisha, thanks for continuing to come and share your story with us every Thursday. Any good news today?
The music.
Yeah.
I think the first time I was on, I discussed how Jess and I are using the birthing center at Methodist Hospital.
Right.
And how it was going to be a requirement for us to have a car seat to leave the hospital.
But you don't have a car.
Exactly.
What's wrong with that picture?
So we actually got great news from the midwife, group of midwives that we're working with. One of those particular midwives did a lot of footwork for us, and thought that the idea of us having to leave the hospital with a car seat was ridiculous as well. So she made some calls, and she gave me the news that we don't have to have a car seat to leave the hospital.
Because you would have been at risk of maybe losing the insurance coverage. I mean,
well, I mean, since then I had done some research on actually AMA, like against medical advice discharges, and it's kind of a gray area. Some people say it's a medical urban legend. Some people say that no, they have the right to deny you coverage for that. So it was just so wishy-washy. I didn't want to deal with it.
But I mean, you've got so many other things to deal with.
Exactly.
I mean, you basically have a parasite living in you, right?
Well, yes. And it moves now, so it's really frightening.
And those are, folks, that's not that was originally your description.
No,
okay.
well, it does. I mean, it
It
sucks
feels that
everything
way.
out of you. I mean, I
Yeah.
love what I'm growing inside of me, but at the same time, it's like it's soul sucking and energy sucking and nutritional.
Yeah.
It just sucks everything out.
Yeah, and you need to be dealing with that and not questions of whether or not you need a car seat.
Exactly.
Even though you don't have a car.
Exactly.
And again, you live just like 3 blocks.
Yeah,
from
3
the
or 4
hospital.
blocks.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the weather's going to be nicer. We're talking about May.
Actually, June.
June?
June
Okay.
10th.
Okay.
So, and of course, we have a backup plan in case the weather is not cooperative, or in case for some reason, God forbid, I'd have to have a cesarean section,
Yeah.
or the baby's not healthy. I mean, obviously, there's a
You got
backup
backup plans. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
but and she just, she told me, I apologized for being kind of a pain, because I, don't want to cause problems. But she said no, it was actually good because they had never been brought up this situation before, that had never been brought up to them, and it allowed them to think kind of
Yeah.
outside the box, that not everybody drives.
Yeah. No, again, maybe you would go home in a stroller. I don't know.
No, Ed.
Okay. No.
No.
Not a stroller?
No.
Okay.
As one of there's a great movie out there called Away We Go. Yeah, nice. Away We Go, and it Maggie Gyllenhaal's character in that movie is kind of an attachment mother, and she's kind of, Mother Earth or whatever, and she just says her comment is, "We love our children, Ed. Why would we want to push them away from us in a stroller?"
Well, you're just taking that. I mean, everybody loves a ride,
Well,
it's like, think of it like a chariot. Your
Yeah.
baby is so precious, so royal, so regal that you have
Right.
a chariot for it. But so you're anti-stroller?
Yes, actually,
Really?
we are. It's not. I mean, I'm not saying that it's wrong, but just for Jess and I's, the way we want to parent our child, we are going to try not to use a stroller. We're gonna.
No, I've never heard that before. Do other parents not use strollers as well? Okay.
It's.
I'm so old school. Sorry.
Well, there's a thing called attachment parenting.
I heard of that. Yes.
And I don't know. It's just part of the thing that they decide. They do a lot of baby wearing and things like this. And actually, I had to.
You mean like a sling?
Yes.
Okay.
And I actually had to have this discussion with my mother-in-law because we actually got into an argument.
So you're getting into all sorts of arguments with your mother-in-law over strollers, over not you. You're not disclosing the
it's
gender
not just
of the
it's
baby.
not just my mother-in-law,
Okay.
Ed. It's
Everybody.
everyone. Everyone.
And now you and I are arguing over strollers, right?
No. And my aunt, it's just a different generation for parenting. So it's just a different.
Yeah.
So actually, I'm working on a little pamphlet that I'm going to be sending to my aunt, my mother-in-law, some other people in my family that have some questions, and I'm just going to put them all together in a pamphlet and send them in if they have any questions.
Now, what if you have twins?
Well, I don't.
Okay, you already know that
I mean,
part.
there's no twins in there unless one's hiding.
Well, I don't know where he or she would hide.
Exactly. I don't know either, but unless one's hiding, yeah.
Very, very clever baby if it is hiding.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So again, I remember we used a sling, but also a stroller, and the stroller was handy, especially when if the two kids are fairly close in age.
Well, and that's fine, but Jess and I don't plan on. Well, we didn't plan on having one child, but we certainly don't plan on having more than one child. So, and that's fine for some people. My mother I never had a car seat or a stroller, None of my siblings ever had a stroller. As soon as we could walk, that's what we did.
Right.
And my mother just held our hands, you know.
That is sweet.
So it was, she wore us until we could walk, and then that's what we did.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the the updates here, and
of course.
And we'll keep posted on how you're doing, and I hope you like the picture that's behind you, and I hope you like the special bumper music we chose for you.
Yes, I do. I'd like to have that picture on our bridal shower or our baby shower invitation.
Would you?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna.
I'm sure we can find a way to make that work for you. So anyway,
I think I'm gonna photocopy that.
Anyway, folks, Nakisha Phillips with us again. Thanks so much for joining us.
Ed.
Good luck to you and Jess.
Thank you.
And we'll talk with you again next week. Folks, tomorrow Charles Goldman's filling in for me. Charles will be here with his brother Stephen Goldman. They're talking about drones. And also Heather Ryan will be joining them later in the program for Ryan's Rants. And I do want to remind folks, you are welcome. Yes, Frank, even you are welcome to join me at the Raccoon River Brew Pub tomorrow night, anytime after 5 o'clock for a celebration of my birthday party, Frederick Chopin's birthday party. I hope he can make it as well. And also a campaign announcement at 6:30. So hopefully you can join us for that. I do want to thank Sid's Catering for sponsoring this segment of our show. Sid's Catering is the brainchild of Sid Cohn, who has years of culinary experience, and she offers a complete range of catering options, including gluten-free, gluten extra, gluten-free, vegetarian, all sorts of ethnic options. And in fact, she is also making an incredible cake for my birthday tomorrow. So if you want to sample Sid's wares, there's one place to do it at Raccoon River tomorrow night. Again, Sid Cohn, Catering by Sid. You can find out more information about her range of opportunities online. Thanks so much, folks. Thanks to Maddie Arrington for being the producer for this show. Thanks to Webcast One Live. I'll see you on Monday if I don't see you tomorrow.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general